Hello, sleepy friends. Even if you're not sleepy, I need to come up with something that I can say when I introduce the video because I don't want to leave people out if they're not sleepy. I'm the all-inclusive thinking. All right, so the daily dose went out already right before I hit record. If you would rather read than watch this video, you can head over and do that if you subscribe. If you don't subscribe, you can do that on my blog at goingbeyondcoping.com. Just in the search bar, type DOSE, D-O-S-E, and it will come up, and you just pop in your email address, and then every day you'll get the expanded concepts of mental things that I'm talking about for coping. If you're watching one of my videos, you're either a friend or you have a chronic illness. So when you have chronic illness, mental things make life a lot harder. And it took me a long time to get that, like how much feeling sad or hopeless or just worn out, those negative things, less than, like you're disappointing people. All those feelings make everything worse. Yuck. So it'll help you feel better if you work on them. If you have issues with friendships or confrontation, anything, anxiety, you can find a way to work with your brain to see things differently, to change your perspective. So today's video is what happens if I don't live with clutter, mental or physical clutter. I sent out the dose, like I mentioned, and my printer isn't working. So I'm doing this completely by notes. The content is the same. I'm talking to about the same thing, but the text will definitely be different than the video. So I started with physical clutter, which encouraged me to move on to mental clutter. And then I just learned of the term digital clutter last night, but because I had worked on physically decluttering things and I had worked on mentally decluttering things, those habits leaned in to ease my digital clutter without my even intentionally trying to do that. I'll get into digital clutter a little bit more later. So if you want to unclutter your life physically, mentally, and digitally, what's required is that you decide. You decide you want to do that. You commit to that decision. You understand the benefits. What is going to improve if you attempt this? And the hope is that it's symptoms. And you understand that. It's not a guarantee, but that's your understanding. That's what people have told you. That's what all the books say. That's what everybody's saying, is that decluttering helps. So decide you want to try it, commit to trying it, understand the benefits, because that will help you stay the course. And then you have to move into living the benefits. So the first time I experienced the answer to the question, what happens if I don't live with clutter, I never asked the question. I ended my 15-year marriage, and we were sharing a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage house with 3 kids and 2 dogs and 15 years worth of stored memories, etc., on top of what I brought into the relationship, which was quite a bit of junk. I moved my stuff from place to place to place. I really identified with my stuff. It was like, okay, so I've had narcolepsy since I was 11. It wasn't like horrible at 11. I just missed out on stuff. I would rather sleep in than go to the beach. I would rather sit and read than do physical things. And it progressed. And by the time I was out of high school, I was sleeping 18 to 20 hours a day. And I wasn't diagnosed until I was 22. So the living that I did get to do was valuable to me. I had a lot of memorabilia stuff from jobs that I had and school stuff. And it was, to me, it was proof that I had lived a little. I guess. I mean, I don't know for sure. I haven't ever like had a therapy appointment and analyzed it. I'm not a doctor or a mental health professional. I just like to think about things in progressive terms, in changing my perspective terms. So the box of things from when I worked at Disney was like, look, I worked at Disney. I mean, I had all this other stuff happen in my life and sadness and loss and everything else. But I had that happy experience and I stuck that happy experience in a box and tried to hold on to it. Not only that, but Disney stuff is typically worth money, right? Disneyana, there's all kinds of money to be had there. So I also had that, someday it might be valuable thought to my Disney stuff. But the rest of it, I was just a keeper of things. Not having enough was stressful and anxiety producing for me. Like food insecurity was a reality for me. My mom raised 3 of us by herself, and bologna sandwiches were the norm, and store brand Cheerios were the norm. And I'm super grateful for everything that she did. But as I started to earn money, I would go out and buy food. I'm buying Hostess cupcakes and cans of soda and all the things that I didn't really get at home. And that led to a whole nother set of issues. In fact, someone requested that I do a video about diet and supplements. So next Wednesday, or maybe the Wednesday after this one, because I think I have next Wednesday I'm going to do what happens if I don't place blame, because that was very powerful for me. And then the week after that, the 6th of November, I believe it is, I'm going to do what happens if I don't live on coffee and cookies. That was an interesting experiment there. Okay, so when I ended my marriage, my ex didn't want to take anything with him other than his clothes. So I was left to deal with everything that was left behind. And there was pressure in that because my mom kept my baby books and photo albums and birthday cards and stuff. And I felt like almost I was obligated to do that. And I was the mom who hung her kids' artwork on their bedroom walls as they grew up. And I kept their great essays and boxes of stuff, just papers and papers. So I had to move, and my financial situation was such that I ended up renting 2 rooms in someone else's house. It was someone I had known for a long time, and he had lived in that house with his roommate for 15 years. And I thought, wow, this is a great opportunity for me because I could afford it. And one of the rooms was really super big, and the other room was fairly small. So I moved my 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage house, 3 kids and 2 dogs into 2 rooms. That was interesting. So I didn't ask the question at first, what happens if I don't live with clutter? I experienced the answer. So parting with stuff that you've held on to for a long time is scary. I had a lot of fear, but I didn't have a choice. So I dumped what I felt that I could, I guess, is the way to look at it, and took lots of pictures of stuff. I have a album only for me on Facebook with some of the things, and I went back and looked at it this morning, and I had like a bottle opener lighter combo from when I had been a bartender 10 years before that, and just lots of old stuff I didn't really need. So I took pictures of it and I dumped it. And a few months into living in the new place, once everything had found its place in the new place, I realized that I was experiencing relief from not having a garage full of stuff. And that was pretty cool because I could use all the relief I could get. At that point, I was very close to rock bottom. I hadn't tried the medication yet that knocked me down off everything that I had. And I was still just trying to navigate things. Months before that, I had a car accident that had kicked my narcolepsy and fibromyalgia into overdrive. So I was really struggling at that point, but I hadn't had that sickness that ended up activating Sjogren's for me. So there was a time where I was able to really see the difference in not having all the extra stuff. But I still had this space and it was stuffed with stuff. So I wanted to get rid of more. And I did. I donated a bunch of stuff. I dumped a bunch of stuff. And it felt really good. And then maybe a year into living there, I got an opportunity to get my own space, which was amazing. And it was a little 3-bedroom. It was about the same size as the 2 rooms that I had because it was part of a house, but it was its own little house. California, they love to put houses in houses. So I didn't have any kind of garage or storage at all. Everything was either in the closet or out in the open. So I got rid of a lot more stuff. And I love being able to see the floor and keep it clean. That was huge for me. From there, I ended up moving in with the man that I eventually married. And he was a minimalist. So he had like nothing. Like his living room was a coffee table, a sofa, and a television. That was all that was in his living room. And I wasn't used to that. I was used to like magazines and piles and baskets to put stuff in. So in a lot of ways, moving in with him was like staying in a timeshare. There's like nothing out. You don't really see anything. And I didn't know if I would be able to maintain that, but I found little ways. Like I had a room in the house that I could put my stuff in, and that door stayed closed most of the time. So as we lived together, it got a little bit more easy to see how different it is when you don't have as much stuff. Like you don't know, right? You're surrounded by stuff, and 9 times out of 10, you don't even know what it's doing to you. I listened to a video, just prepping for my video about clutter, and one thing that was really stuck out to me was the lady said, if you live with clutter, you're gonna choose cookies over carrots. They did an experiment where they put people into a cluttered kitchen, and there was a plate of cookies and a plate of carrots. And in the cluttered kitchen, people chose cookies. And then they had a clean kitchen with cookies and carrots, and the people chose carrots. And it was a lot of people. It was an actual experiment, so it wasn't like, just one dude choosing between the two. So what I took out of that to share with you guys is how many of us lean on sweets, right? Like I did. I lived on coffee and cookies for 40 years. So have you ever connected that to your house being cluttered? I never did. I guess maybe I'm too sleepy to make that connection, but geez, if clutter makes me choose cookies instead of something that's going to help me feel better, let's get rid of it and see if it really does make a difference, right? And I think it does to the point for me, because 4 years ago, I went on autoimmune paleo, which I'll talk about on the 6th. I dropped 15 symptoms. I mean, I had 7 disorders then, but 15 symptoms. Wow. I mean, if you're not trying things, you're missing out. You're missing out on whatever relief is out there for you, you know. I did this Wim Hof breathing method in January. After 4 days, it fixed my body's temperature controls. It's 59 degrees outside and cold. The wind is cold. And I'm in a tank top and I can go stand out there and my triggers don't flare. I don't get goosebumps. I'm not shivering. It's surreal. And I found out about that just by watching YouTube videos, you know. I've got people that I follow on YouTube and they show up on the home screen, and as I'm driving to work, I just scroll and I'll pick one and just listen while I drive. And life changing, right? You can't try things if you don't know they exist. So get out there and look. If it's not expensive, if it doesn't take too long, if other people are getting something out of it, try it. You got nothing to lose. 20 minutes, that's what I lost. 20 minutes a day for 4 days, and now I can be outside. I mean, I survived the summer, 110 Fahrenheit. That would have sent me to nap if I had to stand outside for a half an hour or whatever. And not anymore. So until you ask yourself these questions, until you try things, you don't know what it's going to do for you. So what did living without clutter do for me? I got rid of a lifelong bad dream that I had. Like, from the time I was 18, I started having it, and I'll be 50 in March. It was this one place that I owned, and I actually owned it, and I moved to Pennsylvania from New York before I sold it. So it was there with my stuff in it until I sold it, and we would drive back on the weekends and I would go visit my stuff. I had like this, box full of stuff, and I packed it all up and put it in storage when I sold the place. And I still had these dreams where I'm in the house still. I'm visiting the house and my stuff is there and I have to take care of my stuff. And you don't realize how much anxiety taking care of your stuff gives you until you get rid of the stuff. You can't know what it'll do for you until you do it. So remember that. When you get that paralysis of, I'm scared of getting rid of it, I'm scared of what I'm gonna feel if I get rid of it, do something simple. Like, if you think you want to get rid of something, put it in a box and stick it somewhere with a date on it, the date you put it in there. And if you don't touch it for 6 months or a year, just take the box and donate it or throw it away, whichever it is. But you came with nothing, you're leaving with nothing. That's a very popular phrase. I mean, I've heard it all my life, but I never connected it to decluttering, to minimizing. Sorry, talking, making my mouth really dry. So, if you don't know, if you don't try, you can't know. So, the thing I listened to last night about digital clutter. So, I have 3,000 pictures on my phone right now. Crazy pants. I'm always looking for great things to share on my Positively Narcolepsy page and in my Positively Narcolepsy group. As I write the daily dose, I pull graphics off the internet. I have a lot of pictures on my phone, plus the pictures that I take and the things I share on my own personal wall. So once a month, I dedicate like an afternoon to paring it down, and I'll delete 2,000 photos in an afternoon, and then a month or so later, it's back up there again. And I don't have a problem with that because the content that I'm saving is getting used at some point or another. I'm not just hoarding photos on my phone. So as long as you have that rotation going through, it's very different than if you're just saving and saving and saving and saving and saving and never even looking at them again. That's hoarding. It doesn't matter what the content is, that's hoarding. And keep that in mind as you save things. The video talked about how we have folders full of these images with like 17 random character names that we can't even identify unless we do the preview. And you can't even do that for PDFs. They won't even preview usually. So be mindful of your digital clutter. I lost my hard drive like 3 times in the last 10 years. And the first 2 times I thought someone was backing my stuff up, but they weren't. And the third time was completely on me. And I didn't even realize that I had done this. The last time I lost all my data was like 2012. And now my fan started making noise in my laptop, and I thought, oh, what's going to happen if I lose this, if it dies? And I realized that like virtually everything I have is on the line now. All of my doses are saved in MailChimp, and all of my videos are saved on YouTube and Facebook, and all my pictures are up there. So what a relief that is. Like, I didn't have any anxiety at all because I knew that the things that were really important to me were backed up in the cloud or online. I have to cough, I'm sorry. Ugh. Doing the best I can here. All right, so I got rid of the physical clutter. After the first jump into the new space, the dirty space that was so gross. Oh, just going in that dirty space made me want to clean things. It was so gross. My part wasn't gross, but I had to go through the rest of the house to get to my part. And I used the kitchen, which, like, when I moved in there were spices from the previous decade in the cabinets, and food too. So it was pretty bad. And seeing that helped me, you know, seeing stacks of mail and bottles and hundreds of dishes that don't match each other. Really helped me get a grip on who I wanted to be. Like, I was fine with that person staying who they were. I didn't feel the need to change them. But who do I want to be in this situation? And the last move that we made, my husband and I, into a smaller space, intentionally, because less to clean. We have 4. There's 4 of us here. My one son's at university now, so really just 3. I've got 4 plates, 4 bowls, 4 mugs, and a regular set of silverware. And forces you to wash a dish and reuse it. But you don't, if you have 16 dishes, 16 bowls, 16 mugs, how many are going to be dirty before you start washing them? More just means it takes you longer to get it done. Keep what you got for a head count. I have a set of dishes that are put away. They're my grandfather's china that I inherited and I love. And I bring them out like for fancy dinners. And we just eat on the everyday dishes. So I know if I have extra people over for dinner, I can crack out the china. Or paper plates, man. You know, you don't have to be super fancy. It's more important that you can do your dishes in 20 minutes than it is to be fancy. And the sooner you reconcile that your symptom management should be a bigger priority than your societal perception and what other people think you should be doing. Once you get there, that's some magical stuff right there. So I got rid of a lot of the physical clutter, and then I decided I wanted to get rid of my mental clutter. And I did that killing the monkey in your mind video, and I never did do the follow-up because so many things went into killing the monkeys in my mind. But it really all started with getting rid of my mental clutter, which I do talk about in that video. My ex was not nice when he would text me. And I have irrational situation cataplexy. So oftentimes if I'm confronted with something irrational to me, I just go down, collapse. And there's nothing I can do about that. I worked on interrupting it as much as possible. And I was able to do that in this situation by not reading his text. I would see I got a text from him. I would go to someone else and ask them to read it for me, disseminate the information, and then tell me only what I needed to know from the text. No tone, no nasty stuff, just the kids are going to be here at 6. That's the only part of the text I really needed to know. And by skipping the rest of it, I didn't cataplexy. So symptom management by avoiding mental clutter. Another thing that went away when I stopped reading his text was my analysis of his expressions. Up until that point, I would spend time thinking about what he said, and who cares what he thinks? I divorced the man for a reason. If his opinion was important to me, I would still be with him. And you need to apply that to everyone who isn't in your immediate purview, who doesn't like something about you or says something about you. Who cares? There are going to be people who are going to watch these videos and they're going to be like, wow, I totally never thought of that. That's amazing. I love it. And there are other people who are going to watch it and say, oh yeah, I know that. That's what, you're not telling me anything new. And there are people who aren't going to watch it because they don't want to go forward from where they are subconsciously. They might say they do, and they might think they do, but until you're walking that talk, you're just playing Barbies. That's all you're doing. You have to apply things. So once I got my ex out of my head, I thought, who else can I get rid of? Let's throw everybody off the bus. And I'll tell you something, I was in Amway like 1,000 years ago, and I would go to the conventions, and they would talk about that, about people being in your bus, living in your head rent-free. You might have heard that one yourself. But until you kick them out of your head, until you feel that relief from not thinking about something that used to tear you to pieces, they're just quotes. They're just words somebody muttered or put on a meme or whatever. Until you apply, it's just a picture, you know? You gotta apply it. So once I got rid of other people, I worked on my memories. I haven't been 7 for 40 years, so why think about when I was 7? Disappointing my parents, the bad relationships I've had in the past, friendships I've lost, illnesses I suffered through. Why? Why give him any time? I just stopped. I just stopped thinking about them. I would think about them and I'm like, I don't want to think about that. Let's think about something good. Let's talk to someone, or, you know, laugh at a video. Let's live right now. I made it a contest to clear my mind, and it changed my life. a lot of people focus on meditation as you have to be like quiet, eyes closed, sitting up. You do not have to do that. There's no rule that says you have to do that. It's just that everything is always presented to you that way. I talk to my husband about it all the time. I'm like, I've watched all this stuff, but it's harder for people with chronic illness because they can't just go do it, man. Just gut it up. You can't gut it up if you've got nothing left. And then you feel bad because, well, other people can do it, but you can't. Or they say it's so easy, but it doesn't seem to be for me. And so you give up. You stop trying. And you can't do that. You can't give up. You have to keep trying things. You have to keep believing something is going to get you somewhere. So I made it a contest to clear my mind. I would meditate for 2 minutes, 3 minutes tops. And the rest of the time I would stretch. Do this intrinsic stretching that's like a isometric type of exercise. I have 2 pain disorders. I'm racked with pain most of the time, and stretching hurts, but when you're done it also feels good. So I'll just close my eyes and feel my body and what feels good and what doesn't feel good, and that's what I'm thinking about. I'm tuned into me. I'm not having thoughts. I'm just moving, maybe listening to music, and that's meditation. If you're washing your dishes and you're like bowl, spoon, cup, and those are your only thoughts, that's meditation. You're not thinking about other crap. You're being in the moment. You're being connected. That's meditative. Having no thoughts is meditation, but having thoughts that aren't thoughts really, they're just identifying what you're seeing, that's different. So how many of you have heard the phrase, the present moment is all we have? God, does that sound like some woo-woo gobbledygook? The present moment is all we have. You don't really identify with a phrase like that until you get it. Until you're sitting there racked with thoughts about how bad you feel and what the person said to you and how you have to go to work right now and you're late and all that stuff. And then once you realize you can just get rid of it all. You can just look at your hands. You can do what you're doing. You can write something. You can read something. There's something in front of me. I can look at that. I can live in this moment. I can not think about how bad it was up until now, or how bad it's going to be from here, or how good it was, or how good it will be. I can just right now, I'm making this video. I'm here in the present moment. And that's what's valuable to remember. That you're not your past, you're not your future. And all you have is right now. So don't waste it. Don't waste it being miserable and stuck. Just connect to living. That you're living. So decide, commit, understand the benefits, and then live it. If you want to get rid of your clutter, then get rid of your clutter. Start with one room. Even the bathroom, simple, small room. Anything you haven't used that you can't just run out and grab at the store if the time ever comes you need it again, or you can't order on Amazon and have it delivered the next day if the time ever comes again, get rid of it. If it's summer and you've got this much NyQuil left, get rid of it. You don't need 18 bottles of stuff in your bathroom. Getting rid of that stuff liberates you. So pick a room and be brave. And then once you match your thoughts with your actions, that's when the magic happens. Okay, I gotta go to work. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like. Liking the video really helps a lot more people see it. I watch the count go, and when you like it, it pushes it out onto other people's feeds so they can see it. And if you benefited from this, if you're still listening to this at this point, this has definitely been interesting to you. So please help me spread the message about how managing our emotional things can help us with our physical symptoms. It's really important that people know. I had narcolepsy for 38 years and I didn't get it for the first 30 of them. So let's help each other out and find all the coping that we can get our hands on. That's it. Follow me on YouTube. That'll help more people see it. The Positively Narcolepsy page on Facebook, Positively Fibromyalgia on Facebook. Those will both help more people see it too. And get busy. Get busy getting rid of that clutter, the physical, mental, and digital clutter. And then you yourself will also know what happens when you don't live with clutter. Go find out. Make it a great day. The choice is always yours.